Assalamu alaikum. This is Meherunnesa Shapla, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Narayanganj Government Mohila College, welcoming you to my today's online-based class. These online classes are being held under the supervision of our Honorable Principal, Sir Professor Bidura Bint Habib. So, dear students, how are you? I hope all of you are fine and as usual, safe from COVID-19. Today again I want to take the class of honors second year. In the last class I completed stanza-wise explanations and paraphrases of Immortality Ode which was written by William Wordsworth. And today I want to make a critical appreciation of the poem. Okay, so let's start. Immortality Ode is not the main title of the poem. The main title is Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood. This is one of the greatest and noblest English poems. Wordsworth began it at the height of his genius. We find that Wordsworth explores different kinds of themes. He explores the themes of age, youth, religion, or spirituality, childhood memories, childhood, and nature as well. In the first four stanzas, we find that the first four stanzas tell of his spiritual crisis of a glory passing from the earth, and end by asking why this has happened. The middle stanzas examine the nature of this glory and explain it by a theory of reminiscence from the prenatal existence. And here we find that Wordsworth has been somewhat influenced by Pythagoras and Slade, because those people believe in life before birth. So here, in the last stanzas show that though the vision has perished, life has still meaning and a value. So the three parts of the ode deals with crisis and explanations, and speaks of what is the most important and most original in his poetry. And what is the central theme? The central theme of the poem is the idealization of childhood. The poem contains a metaphysical doctrine, that is the theory that the memory of our childhood inform us life before birth, and therefore the immortality of the soul. But that this truth of the doctrine cannot be verified by us from our own personal experience. That is why, according to some critic, this poem lacks that universal appeal which is necessary for its enjoyment at the average readers. And Wordsworth himself does not assert the doctrine of reminiscence to be true. So he looks hold of it as having sufficient foundation in humanity, and therefore worthy of being used by a poet. The idealization of the child through defeasible of the ground of purity and innocence of childhood, it is not justified. It is not justified on the ground of its spirituality, because or on a prophetic quality, because we cannot, as a human being, we cannot say that that children has a prophetic quality, or children have prophetic quality, or children have superpower to know all those meanings that learned philosopher cannot find out throughout their whole life. So in some points, when you go through the poem, you will find that in some points the poet addresses the child as a mighty prophet, seer blessed or best philosopher, these phrases, these addressings are, exaggeration according to some critics. So this is, one of the main important themes of the poem, or the central theme of the poem. Another theme is that we have find some autobiographical element and reminiscent of the poet's past life, because the glory and the sorry because the radiance and the glory of nature, which he declares as having seen in his childhood, was a part of his own personal experience. So in the ninth stanza, we have his own statement of this point. That is, I'm going to recite this stanza before you. That is, O joy that in our embers is something that doth live, that nature yet remembers. What was so fugitive, the thought of our past years in me. Here, notice that he used this word, me, doth breed perpetual benediction, not indeed, for that which is most worthy to be blessed, delight and liberty, the simple creed of childhood, whether busy or at rest, with new fledged hope still fluttering in his breast. Not for these I raise, I raise, here the first person I is used here, the song of thanks and praise, but for those obstinate questionings, absence and outward things, falling from us, vanishings, blank misgivings of a creature moving about in worlds not realized. High instincts before which our mortal nature did tremble like a guilty thing surprised, but for those first affections, those shadowy recollections, which, be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of all our day, are yet a master light of all our seeing, uphold us, cherish, and have power to make our noisy ears seem moments in the being of eternal silence. Truth that awake to perish never, which neither listlessness, nor mad endeavor, nor man, nor boy, nor all that is at enmity with joy can utterly abolish or destroy. So these are the lines that these are the lines of this stanza. In this stanza, we find that the poet uses the first person I, me, on our. All these words indicate that all these experiences are taken from the poet's own personal experience. Okay. So now I will move on to another theme, that is the psychology of the child, of children. That is, Wordsworth has very vividly described the psychology of the child. The child is the child is an imitator, is an actor who copies and performs all the every action and gestures that he sees around him. There is another stanza. That is from the seventh stanza, I think. Yes, this is from the seventh stanza. Behold the child among his newborn blisses, a 6 years darling of a pygmy size. See, where mid-work of his own hand he lies, fretted by sallies of his mother's kisses, with light upon him from his father's eyes, as see at his feet some little plan or chart, some fragment from his dream of human life, shaped by himself with newly learned art, a wedding or a festival, a mourning or a funeral, and this hath now his heart, and unto this he frames his song. Then will he fit his tongue to dialogues of business, love, or strife, but it will not be long ere this be thrown aside. And with new joy and pride, the little actor cons another part. Cons another part means he changes his subject, filling from time to time his humorous stage with all the persons down to palsied age, and life brings with her in her equipage, as if his whole vocation were endless imitation. So from this stanza we find how Wordsworth describes or picturizes the children's psychology. Another important theme, that is nature. you know and the description of nature, nature picture, are also beautiful. The poet brings about the differences uh, between the love, between his love for nature as a child and his love for nature as a man. As a child, he had a passion for nature. Nature was just an appetite for him. But as a man, he has a love for nature, which was, meditative and reflective. Okay, so he says another important thing, that is, he finds a moral view in nature, and this view also has also been expressed in this ode. So the poet refers to human sufferings which he has witnessed, and the sympathy which he feels for his fellow human beings. And the last stanza reveals this affection and the reflective mood of the poet. And no one can remain untouched by the restful and soothing effect of the music of the poem at the close. I have already recited the last stanza before you. So these are the themes of Immortality Ode. So now I'm going to talk about the style of writing of Wordsworth. So Wordsworth's image making power is noteworthy. So in this poem we find image making power. It should be noted. So he gives the vivid pictures of the meadows, the groves, the streams, the rainbows, the lovely roses, the moon shining in a cloudless sky, the starry night, the light falling upon water, the children collecting fresh water, the baby leaping on his mother's arm. So all these images are beautifully picturized by the poet. The poet has also used rhythmic and effective phrases in the ode, like the glory. Okay, I have to look at the book. So at the glory and the freshness of dream, shade of prison house, the height of common day, thoughts of deep for tears. So all these are the examples of the rhythmic and effective phrases that Wordsworth has used in this poem. Okay, so another important thing, that is a lyrical element. So the lyrical element is also there. In the first four stanzas, we find that the poet expresses his sense of loss, and the last two stanzas refers to the compensations which make him happy and intensely emotional, and possesses a singing quality. I have already recited the last stanza, so we find the singing quality of this stanza. So thus the ode becomes a happy blending of thought and emotion, of doctrine and poetry, of meditation and melody. And now I'm going to talk about the poetic techniques that Wordsworth has used in the poem. So Wordsworth has used several poetic diction in his poems. That is, in his ode of immortality, ode intimations of immortality from the collections of early childhood. This include alliteration, metaphor, personification, anaphoras, and enjambments. Okay, so Wordsworth, what is metaphor, what is alliteration and personification, but anaphora is somewhat uncommon to you. So Wordsworth also makes use of anaphora, or the repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of multiple lines, usually in succession. There is a great example at the end of the poem where the phrase "thanks to" begin two lines in a row. So this is the example of anaphora. And he also used another important technique that he has used is enjambment. It occurs when a line is cut off its natural stopping point. Enjambment forces a reader down to the next line, and the next quickly. So this is called enjambment. And another important figure of speech, that is metaphor, personification, and alliteration. You can find all these figures of speech that he has used in the poem. Now I am going to talk about the structure of the poem. That is, it has 206 lines with 11 stanzas of varying lengths. There is no single rhyme scheme, but there are individual patterns of rhyme in each stanza. Also, use several different metrical patterns throughout the poem. There are examples: Alexander lines, as well as iambic pentameter, tetrameter, and trimeter as well. So, my dear students, that is all for today. I don't know whether my whether I have made successful critical appreciation or not, but I have tried my level best to make you clear about the poem. So that is all for today. So I can hope that all of you have understood the Chintan Abbey and this poem, the Immortality Ode. So please read the two poems over and over again and try to find out all these things that I have talked about. In these four classes, I think. So I will come with another topic in the next time. Stay safe and fine, and thank you for being with me, and Allah Hafiz.